you. Yeah, you. There's 3 minutes left to go on this countdown, which means the best part of the week is about to start. I hope you're all nestled in. Why don't you take the next couple of minutes to comment below, let us know where you're watching from and how excited you are. You can even find the share button somewhere, flick it out into your news feed so all of your friends can be a part of this as well. I hope you're ready, I hope you're excited. This is gonna be awesome.
Hi, I'm Shafali from the Chennai campus. Welcome to India Church Online this morning. Personally, I find church online such a blessing for me because my work schedule is always so erratic and hectic. I believe it's going to be a huge blessing for you too this morning. Without further ado, let's do church.
Welcome to Freedom Church. We are so glad that you're here this morning. Whether this is your first time or your 100th time, it is a good call coming to church this morning and you are so welcome.
Absolutely. And if this is your first time, you are our VIP. You are a very important person. And we would love to connect with you. So let's be friends. You can connect with us on Instagram or Facebook, and feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more Freedom Church content.
Definitely, that's right. So we're a global church this morning. We're meeting around the world in a bunch of different locations. But right here in India, we have something really cool that happens, which is called groups. So we're going to be hearing from Gino and Sylvia right now about everything that's been going on here in India.
Hey everybody, I'm Gino.
I'm Sylvia.
And we're part of the First Steps team.
First Steps for some of us is home away from home, a place to be yourself without getting a sense of being judged or not heard.
In First Steps, you'll find an amazing group of people. There's a lot of laughter, there definitely is entertainment, but most importantly, being a part of this community will give you a better understanding of who God is and who we are as a church.
That's right. First Steps plugs you into a fun-filled environment of diverse people, and together we build community.
In this season, we have been meeting for groups online, and as a result, over the last few months, we've seen many people join us who wouldn't be able to if we were meeting at a physical location.
Yeah, that's probably because they're getting off work, travel time. Some of them have kids, trying to figure out babysitters, and for some, they really stay far away.
Yeah, joining groups has never been easier. So now you can log in from anywhere. We have people who log into groups from other states as well.
And yes, we would love for you to join us too.
Yeah, we genuinely believe and we want to say that you are loved, you have purpose in your life, and if First Steps can help you get a better understanding of that, we want to be there for you.
That's right. You are so welcome. Come as you are.
Yeah, whoever you are, wherever you are, join the family, join in the fun, and join the craziness that is First Steps.
Wow, so good. I love that that kind of stuff is happening here in India at our church. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Church, last weekend, a bunch of us from in Chennai went on something called a prayer drive.
Yes.
We got in our cars, we covered every corner of the city in prayer, and we are so proud of each of you for getting involved.
It's awesome.
And speaking of prayer,
Yeah.
our new prayer app has launched,
Come on.
and we are so stoked. We
Love
are
it.
loving the prayer app, and we
Yeah, it's
hope
good.
you are too. We're going to jump to a video to hear more about how others around the world are finding the prayer app.
Come on.
I love the prayer app because it helps me keep track of my personal prayers and how God has answered them.
I love this new version of the prayer app. I love that it connects me to all the other campuses, really making it one global family. But also it challenges me, it pulls me into prayer and causes me to pray more and to pray deeper.
I've been using the app recently, but what I like most about the new version is the reminders that I get about my set time for prayer.
I've been using the prayer app since Mark 1 from the beginning, but this new one, I can not only see everything that's going on and calls for prayer from my own campus, I can catch up with the needs of the campuses where I've visited.
Come on, love it. Many of you will have heard that we have an annual gathering here at Freedom Church called The Cave.
Yes.
Now that is coming up soon in 2 weeks' time. So right now we're going to hear an update about The Cave.
The cave is just around the corner, and I don't know about you, but I'm getting more and more excited for it. Every time I pray and I get time with God, I get a deeper sense of the power with which He wants to move and the way He's going to use the circumstances and the situation we find ourselves in to do something like we've never seen before. Honestly, I am getting fired up and believing that whether you're going to be joining on your own at home because perhaps you're locked down in your nation, your city, or maybe your own health, or whether you're going to be gathering in groups or families or at one of our venues, I really believe that God is not going to be contained this year, and it's going to be phenomenal. But I wanted to let you know a little bit more information about how it's going to work and the different options you've got to connect into the cave. A couple of weeks ago, we opened up the waiting list for the broadcast venue here in the UK, and we made the decision that that broadcast venue is going to be here in Hereford. Now that changes some of the capacity that we're able to open up and how many people we're able to have. And so we're going to open up streaming events in a number of our venues across the UK as well. We're going to have them in Cardiff, in Birmingham, in Worcester, potentially in Cheltenham, one here at the Forge as well, because we know that God's going to move powerfully, and whether we're going to connect on our own digitally, there's something powerful about gathering together, and there's a great hunger around our church to do that. And so we want to open up as many opportunities for us to do that. We're going to be encouraging people where possible to go to the events locally relevant to them. And we're also doing this because we're aware that things are changing here in the UK day by day, week by week. And we want to be equipped and empowered so that in 2 weeks' time, we have got an amazing event set up. Overseas, we're going to have a mixture of streaming events as well. Some are going to be in homes and in small bubble groups. Others are going to be in venues, and your campus passes at the end of the event today are going to let you know more information about how you can sign up for those events. And of course, we're also going to be streaming this online, and you can connect in as an individual or a family if that's the circumstance you find yourselves in. We're really working hard to make sure that every single one of us all around the world, across across our time zones, in all the different situations, feel connected to what God is doing and even connected to one another. If you signed up and were interested in coming to the broadcast location, you're going to get an email at the start of this week to let you know whether you got that ticket or whether you're going to need to sign up for a streaming event where you are. And I want to encourage you, of course, so many of us want to be in the room, but I really believe that God is going to move in every setting we do the cave. And so don't hesitate to get a ticket for the stream event where you are. If you're planning to join us online, then there's going to be a link released this Wednesday to register and get the code for the stream to that as well. Church, I want to remind us that either when it comes to the cave or when it comes to regular church events, God says this in His Word: do not give up on gathering together. You know, I know that there are some of us that the convenience of being able to catch up with the event or watch it early, it's been a preferential thing for us in this season, able to do it maybe a little bit more on our terms or in our time. But the thing about church is it's not about just consuming content. It's not just about hearing the word or watching the worship or hearing a testimony. It's actually something even more powerful than that. It's about the community. And I want to encourage us, whether it's connecting to a gathering online at a specific time or physically where you have an opportunity, don't give up on gathering together. Church was never meant to be about our own convenience, our own preferences. In fact, actually, it was about living for God and living for others. The cave is a great opportunity for us to live that out on that Saturday. Guys, we cannot wait for you to join us. It's going to be a life-changing event.
Oh man, I am so excited for the cave. Come on guys, get ready, get expectant. It's going to be awesome. Put it in your diary.
Yes, I agree. Church, in just a moment, we are going to hear from Pastor Josh Snowzell.
Cool.
But before that, we're going to hear a couple of stories of life change from people around the world in Freedom Church.
Yes.
We're also going to do some worship together, and we are so excited because we have some new music that have come out of Freedom Church. So church, lean in, press in, let's enjoy this together.
Come on.
Hey Vash, thank you for joining us and just being willing to share about what happened with you at the cave last year. We're so grateful for you. But before we get into the cave and all that it was for you, just let everybody know how long you've been a part of Freedom.
Yeah, I've been a part of Freedom for about 1.5 years now. It's been amazing.
Come on, it seems like much longer though. 1.5 years seems like a short span of time, and it has gone by really quickly. But it's just been amazing to just see you on this journey that you have been on with Christ. But let's just jump straight into the cave and what it's all about and what it was for you most importantly last year. So go for it, Vash.
Yeah, so last year I had been attending church at Freedom for about 2 months before the cave happened, and everything about church I immediately loved. I loved that sense of community, and just the atmosphere was so positive. It was very different from anything I had felt outside of that. So I loved it, but I didn't really understand where it was coming from or why. I mean, everybody was talking about Jesus, and obviously there was that, but I never had like any personal sort of, experience of God at that point. I didn't understand what faith was. Like, I didn't even know what salvation meant. So I was pretty clueless about all of it, but enjoying myself. And that's when the cave happened. So yeah, I mean, the cave, like right from the start, it just felt so different from, any of the Sunday events that I'd been a part of up to that point. I don't know, it felt like everything else was stripped away and it was just me and God during that time. And I think over the course of that cave, I had just the most incredible and beautiful, powerful moment with God. And on the back of that, I gave my life to Jesus. So yay, it was the greatest day of my life. And I am so grateful for that moment, for that experience. And I'm so happy that it happened at the cave, that, God was there waiting to meet me there for that. And what an incredible way to kick off my journey with Christ. So yes, definitely so happy that I got to be a part of that experience and have that experience.
What a way to kick off Cave, by getting saved and then getting on that journey with Christ. But we have seen Varsha's life completely turn, completely change, and I'm sure there's been so much blessing in the back of that, so much healing, so much reward at the back of that, and just to see Varsha so full of life, full of joy is just absolutely encouraging for us to see as well. So yes, so anybody that's watching or listening to this interview, Vash, do you have anything to say to them as sort of an encouragement for those who have never been to a cave, if they're wondering what this is about, if they should give up like a whole day to spend at the cave and with God, what do you have to say to them?
Yeah, I mean, if you've never been to a cave and if you don't know what it's about, I was obviously pretty clueless when I had my first cave last year. And I mean, just what I got out of it is incredible. I could never have imagined that it would be such a significant moment. So, I mean, you don't know what's waiting for you, and you just have to be there. I think, you know, if you're not sure, don't overthink it. Like, don't even think about it, just show up.
Come on, I mean, it's as simple as that, just show up. And I think now it's the ball's in your court. You just need to show up, and God will do the rest and will show up and do something so significant. Just like Varsha saw last year at the cave, you could have a big significant moment. God will speak to you, and I know He will. So yes, thanks Vash for sharing that story and for encouraging everybody out there that's listening in.
So I was part of the Freedom Academy 2016-2017 year. I had moved in from South Africa, which was already such a big move for me, but it's where I felt God had called me for that time. And during that time we had the Stronger Cave in May 2017. So I had the privilege of being part of the worship team for the cave, and throughout that day, the Saturday, I knew God was doing something. I just was like, what is happening? I knew something was coming, and I knew God was stirring a willingness in me to go, but I had no idea where. I knew that Africa was on my heart, but yeah, there was just, I felt like they had announced all the locations. There was no new locations, but I didn't feel called to any of those locations, so I was like, okay, what is going on? That night I was on stage playing the keys, and they announced location Z, and I just remember my heart racing. I was like, shaking. It was just, I don't even know how to explain it in words. It was just the most incredible, insane, crazy moment of my life. And they, said Africa, and I was done. I was finished. I was crying. I know there's pictures. The CPs were sitting in the front row at the time, and everyone was, taking pictures of me. I feel like they knew what was coming, and a lot of friends were just kind of watching me break. But in that moment, God really broke my heart for Africa. I didn't even know what the location was, but I knew that this is, where I was going. And obviously Africa is home for me because of I am South African, but then they carried on with the announcement and said Kigali, Rwanda, and I didn't even know much about Kigali. I didn't even know much about the history at that time and at that moment, but I knew that this is the place God was calling me to. I knew that this was going to be home, and I knew I was going to fight anyone to get here because I just knew that this is where God was calling me. And the journey since that day has been absolutely incredible and such a privilege. I feel so honored to be a part of this, and that God called me to be here for such a time as this. And I remember the night I arrived in Kigali, and actually this past week, it's 3 years since I've been part of the team out here. And I remember the night I arrived, I instantly felt like I was home. And I knew that that was important, to make it home, being called somewhere and making it home. Immersing yourself in the culture, getting to know the people, and we spend so much time doing that. But I cannot believe how much I have changed. We sign up to see people's lives change for Jesus, but I don't think I knew how much God was going to be teaching me through all of that. I am always going to be humbled to have been part of this journey, and just want to shout out to every single person that I've met. You have changed my life, and it's been such an honor to be a part of all of your journeys. You all know who you are, and I care for you so deeply, and I can't wait to see what else God has in store for us here in Kigali. And want to encourage people, if you haven't been out yet, come visit, because it is the most amazing place. And I feel so honored that I get to call this place home. I am grateful to God every day that He changed the course of my life. He changed my plans, because chasing after His plan for my life is so much better than the plans I thought I wanted for my life. So I am so grateful. It's been such an incredible experience. And anytime it gets hard, I go back to that moment where I was called. So God just changed my world in that moment. So be at the cave, be ready, be willing. Maybe there is something God wants to plant in your life. Maybe there is a plan that He wants to bring into fruition. I can't encourage you enough. I am so grateful for that moment, and I will cherish it forever. So love you, church, and hope to see you at the cave.
People come together, strangers, neighbors, our blood is one. Children of generations, of every nation, of kingdom come. Come on, church. So don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth: God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Praise go up as the walls come down. Oh creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All His children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Come on, swing wide, all you heavens, let the praise go up as the walls come down. Everything with His kingdom come. I won't forget the wonder of how you brought deliverance, the exodus of my heart. 'Cause you found me, you freed me, held back the waters for my release. Oh Yahweh, you're the God who fights for me, Lord of every victory. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And you have torn apart the sea, you have led me through the deep. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh. Come on, let's sing Cloud by Day. The cloud by day is the sign that you are with me. The fire by night is the guiding light to my feet. You found me, 'cause you found me, you freed me, held back the waters for my release. Oh Yahweh, 'cause you're the God who fights for me, Lord of every victory. Hallelujah, hallelujah. You have torn apart the sea, you have led me through the deep. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Come on, you're the God who fights. You're the God who fights for me, Lord of every victory. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And you have torn apart the sea, you have led me through the deep. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Whoa. Come on, you stepped in. 'Cause you stepped into my Egypt, and you took me by the hand, and you marched me out in freedom into the promised land. Now I will not forget you, God. I'll sing of all you've done. Death is swallowed up forever by the fury of His love. 'Cause you stepped into my Egypt, and you took me by the hand, and you marched me out in freedom into the promised land. Now I will not forget you, and I sing of all you've done. Death is swallowed up forever by the fury of His love. 'Cause you're the God who fights for me, Lord of every victory. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And you have torn apart the sea, you have led me through the deep. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Come on and again, you're God. 'Cause you're the God who fights for me, Lord of every victory. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And you have torn apart the sea, you have led me through the deep. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
I want to tell you about one of the most powerful and dramatic stories in the Bible. This is a story that happened through Jesus, and it was captured by his disciple John. This is the story of Lazarus. So I think of this verse where the sisters sent word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. And I think of how this is a picture of our world right now. I think of the people on their knees in different countries, in different cultures, reaching out to God as coronavirus is spread around the world, looking to heaven, looking for an answer, sending word to God in heaven, Lord, the one you love is sick. This story, it's a picture for us of getting an understanding of how Jesus responds to our illness, how Jesus responds to the things that we have to suffer in this world. Lazarus was a friend of Jesus, a close friend, but he'd been ill and things were getting worse. The sisters of Lazarus, Mary and Martha, sent word to Jesus. They would have known the weight that was on Jesus' shoulders. They would have known all the ministry that he was doing, and they wouldn't have wanted to bother him until the very last moment. But things had got so grave, things were looking so bleak, that they had to send word to their friend Jesus, that to look for him for salvation, healing, and hope. For Jesus to answer the call of Mary and Martha, it was going to take a massive risk. To go back to Bethany, to go back to this area, is going to be a massive risk for Jesus and the disciples. And as Jesus makes the decision that they're going to answer the call of Mary and Martha, the disciples begin to question him. Jesus, they tried to stone us last time we were in that area. In fact, what happens in just the chapter before, in John chapter 10, is that they tried to make a desperate grab for Jesus because they're so angry with him, because he was claiming to be the Son of God. So they picked up stones in their hands and were wanting to kill him. So for Jesus to answer this call, it meant that he was going to risk his own life. It meant he was going to risk the life of the disciples. Such was the anger and hatred against Jesus. It reminds me of the risk that we all have to take sometimes. We're already talking so much, aren't we, in our world about the risks that we take every time we go to the supermarket and we use a shopping trolley. Every time that we go even into a church might be a perceived risk for so many of us. But there are some risks that are worth taking. There are some risks that we have to take. And this is what I see through the story of Jesus. We kind of see this even with what's been happening in our world in just these last months, when we've had the lockdown happening around the world, everyone was shut inside their homes. And then when we saw the killing of George Floyd, protesters took to the streets. We saw thousands of people after not seeing people congregated in any groups of more than 5 or 10 after months. But all of a sudden, thousands of people filled our streets. Why? So some risks are worth taking. Some risks are worth embracing because there's too much at stake for us on the other side of those risks. But as we come back to the story of Lazarus, if we've got any doubt about how dangerous this would have been for Jesus, we only have to look in verse 16, where we find that Thomas says and declares to the rest of the disciples, "Let us also go so that we may die with him." This is Thomas, who's known famously for being doubting Thomas. But here he shows incredible courage as he declares this to be a suicide mission, to be something that they're going to die for if they're going to go to help Lazarus. And so this gives us an insight into the risk that Jesus and the disciples were taking. So they set off from where they are and they make the journey towards Bethany. As Lazarus had been dead for 4 days, it meant that many Jews from the area family members, community had travelled to come and mourn with Mary and Martha. This was a tragedy. And Jewish custom was that the whole village would have been mourning together. There would have been wailing, and it would have been an emotional and upsetting scene. Then Jesus enters the picture. We have two sisters and two different responses. One hears about Jesus and goes where he is at. One decides to stay at home. Stay at home. Those are the words of our season, aren't they? Stay at home. And this is exactly what Mary decides to do as she stays at home. Imagine knowing that Jesus was so near. Imagine if he was physically somewhere close to you right now. Wouldn't you do anything to be where he is? I think you take any risk. You go and pursue his presence. And there's something about our lives as we draw near to him, he draws near to us. That as we go towards Jesus, that he comes close to us. That's a promise in the book of James. And I want to say to you today, what are you doing to draw near to Jesus? Are you staying at home, or are you pursuing him? Are you coming towards him? Are you coming towards your church? Because we know that Jesus is the head of the church. So how are you coming towards Jesus? How are you coming towards your church? And leaving the safety of our homes, it's not just about the physical nature of our homes. We know that we've got parameters and safety restrictions around the world. It's about the mentality that we have as we come towards Jesus. Jesus made a promise. Your brother will rise again. And then as Martha responds and says, I know that he'll rise again one day, Jesus says, no, I am the resurrection. It's not just some far off event. It's not just something in the distant future. It's standing right in front of you. I am the resurrection and the life. Then Jesus talks about life after death, and then he presents her with a simple question. Do you believe this? Not do you understand this? Do you comprehend what I'm trying to say? He says, do you believe this? Do you believe in me? Jesus isn't looking for your understanding. We're obsessed with trying to work everything out. We're doing our calculations and our measurements. But what Jesus is saying is, do you believe in me? He sweeps away all of our questions, all of our doubts, all of the things that we don't understand. And he says, look at me, believe in me. Instead of trying to figure it all out, come and trust me. Put your faith in me. And church, that's what he's wanting to say to you today. Don't try and figure everything out, but believe with all that you are. This beautiful thing called faith. As Jesus asks the question, do you believe this? Martha affirms her faith in Jesus and declares that he is the Messiah. Jesus then asks after her sister Mary, wondering where she is. So Martha goes and fetches Mary and brings her back to Jesus, and they have a conversation. What Mary said to Jesus is the exact same thing that Martha said to Jesus when she saw him too. If you'd been here, this wouldn't have happened. What this tells us is that they probably talked about this a lot over the last 4 days. but also that they believed in Jesus so much that if he'd been there, this never would have happened. Their brother would not have died. But because he wasn't there, Jesus was unable to heal him. They had the faith that he would be healed from sickness, but not that he could be resurrected. Both miraculous things, but the sisters believed for one thing and not the other. And it just makes me think, how much is our faith limited? How much is our expectation limited? We can believe Jesus for one thing, but not believe him for something else. Where is your faith limited today? Where can you believe Jesus for more? Where can you take off the expectations that you put upon him, that limit him? Because you've got to look into the face of Jesus, just as Mary and Martha did, and know that when you're with Jesus, that nothing is impossible. We see in these verses that Jesus weeps. We see that Mary and Martha and the Jews around them are weeping in a way that means wailing. There's this huge commotion and pouring out of sadness and despair. And Jesus responds to it. We read in the scriptures that it says he's deeply moved and that he weeps. But why weep when you know that you're about to resurrect this man? Does this verse make any sense to us? But Jesus has deep empathy with what Mary and Martha had been through. He feels their pain. He feels the mourning and the despair of the people. And instead of being indifferent towards it, we see this compassion within him that weeps with them. That's our Savior. That's who Jesus is. He mourns with us. Jesus was deeply moved. The Greek that John writes with there actually means that he was angry. It's almost like he snorted or he groaned at the situation. This is not a word that we'd associate with Jesus in this moment, to think that Jesus was angry. And I think it changes our perception of how God feels towards death. Because I think that sometimes we think of God in heaven looking down on earth as a passive onlooker rather than being actively and emotionally engaged. Maybe he's sad for us, or maybe that he feels our emotion in the moment. But the truth is that death makes God angry, because it was never the intention of God to have death on this earth. He placed Adam and Eve here for eternity, to live forever. It was only when sin came into the world and it fell that death came into the world. And that's why when Jesus is faced with death right before him, if the friend that he loves, it angered him, because it was never his plan for this earth. Christ has not come to the tomb as a spectator, but like a wrestler, preparing for the contest. Therefore, no wonder that he groans again, for the violent tyranny of death which he had to overcome stands before his eyes. So Jesus finally arrives at the cave, and he's there looking onto the tomb, ready to take on death, to contend with death that stole his friend that he loves. And Jesus, knowing that he's been given authority on all things, over all things in the earth, knows that death has to be conquered. But the thing is, Jesus knows that when he calls Lazarus out from his tomb, when he resurrects him, it's going to set a chain of events in motion that are going to lead to his death. There's no turning back from this point. Even to come to the tomb was to risk his life. But to resurrect Lazarus, it was certain that the Pharisees would be after his life, that they would make plans to kill him. Jesus knew this. We see this in John 12, where they come together because of all the excitement about this resurrection of Lazarus. They begin to plot the death of Jesus. So Jesus knows, and he takes this moment before the cave, knowing that as he gives this instruction for Lazarus to come out of the cave, that he's going to be swapping his life for Lazarus's. That this instruction to resurrect Lazarus is going to come at the price of death. Jesus, about to perform this miracle, looking upon this tomb carved out of rock, knowing that it's his body in just a matter of days that will be lay overcome by death inside a cold stone tomb, just as Lazarus's was. But in that moment, Jesus chooses the life of Lazarus over his own. But as Jesus made the instruction to take away the stone, Mary and Martha still didn't yet understand what he was trying to do. They still didn't understand the miracle that they were about to see. Maybe they thought that Jesus wanted to have the stone rolled away so that he could see his friend that he loved one more time in the flesh to say goodbye. So they tried to talk him out of it. There's going to be a stench. There's going to be an odor. Let's not open the tomb. But Jesus insists, roll away the stone. As they rolled away the stone, Jesus prays a simple prayer so that all the people, all the crowd that are gathered there could hear him and know that this was with God's power and help that he was going to do this miracle. And then, in a loud voice, so that everybody could hear clearly, Jesus stands before the tomb and says, "Lazarus, come out." A jaw-dropping miracle, the dead man raised. I think of Lazarus finding himself in the tomb alone in the coldness of the cave, breath returning to his lungs, heart beating once more, hearing not only the voice of his Saviour, but his friend. Blood starting to flow around the body again, his hands and feet tied, not being able to see because of his face covering. He would have had to shuffle himself out of his own grave. He had to respond to the voice of Jesus before he could see where he was going. I pray that you today would stop trying to figure your entire pathway and follow the voice of Jesus. Even if you have to hop there, even if you have to crawl, do whatever it takes to come towards his voice, just as Lazarus did. Church, we need to come out of our cave, come out of our grave, out of our paralysis, out of our restrictions, because there is so much fullness of life that God has for each one of us. And he's called us to be the salt of the earth, to be the light of this world, to be the hope that people look to. But how can we do that if we're still in our cave, if we're still in our restriction? We need to break out and come to the life that Jesus has for us. And as Lazarus came out and Jesus saw him coming out of the cave, Jesus said to the attendants, "Take off his grave clothes." Church, we need to take off the grave clothes that we've started to wear in this season, that's changed our perspective, that's made us cynical, where we've spent more time consuming news than consuming his word, more time scrolling on Instagram than spending time on our knees in prayer. Because church, these things, this season, it can affect us. It can make us cynical. It can make us negative. It can give us words of death in our mouths. But Jesus is saying to you today, take off the grave clothes. Start to see with new sight. Look to me and come towards my voice and into the freedom and fullness of life that I have for you. I believe that Jesus is going to do an amazing thing through the cave this year, because Jesus does a resurrection in the cave. That's where he brings new life. That's where he comes and changes the game, and that's what he's going to do at the cave this year. He's going to come and bring resurrection in your life. So I want to encourage you, do you believe this? Are you ready to take off the grave clothes? Are you ready to come and embrace the fullness of life that Jesus has for you and our church? Let's do this together. Let's go to the cave in expectation and anticipation, full of faith for what Jesus is going to do.
He's here and he's moving. Oh, he longs to speak to us. Oh, he's here and he's moving. Would you open up your heart? Oh, he's here and he's moving. Oh, he longs to speak to us. Oh, he's here and he's moving. Oh, we open up our hearts. 'Cause out here I find you, amongst the waves I find you. Out here I will find you, my Lord. Out here I find you, amongst the waves I find you. Out here I will find you, my Lord. If it's you, just call me out. Just call me out. I'll come to you. And if it's you, just call me out. Just call me out. I'll come to you. You set my feet on solid ground. You hold my dreams within your hands. You hold my dreams within your heart. You never let me go. You never let me go. So I will trust in you. I will trust in you. Oh, so your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be in the highs and the lows. Wherever you lead me, wherever I go, in the highs, in the lows. Wherever you lead me, wherever we go, in the highs and the lows. Wherever you lead me, wherever we go, in the high and the low. Wherever you lead me, wherever we go. Wherever we go. Wherever we go, it's you and me, Jesus forever. It's you and me, Jesus forever. If it's just you and me,
Amazing, what a word. Thanks for that, Josh. Church, as we head into this week, let's remember, be expectant and start getting yourself ready for the cave. It's in 2 weeks, it's going to be awesome, so get that time off work and start preparing. Speaking of this week, this Wednesday night, we have Barbarians. Ooh! Barbarians is the time that our men meet. It's at 7:30 and it's going to be powerful. God will be there and He will be moving.
Absolutely, and don't forget we have our brand new prayer app out and ready to be downloaded.
Right.
So if you don't have it already, do it. You're
Yes.
gonna love it. Church, we are so glad that you have joined us today.
right.
And remember, if this has been your first time, we would love to
Yes.
connect with you, and we're so glad you joined us.
Yeah.
Connect with us on social media and we'd love to chat. As we wrap up, we'd love to invite you to join us over on our Instagram for our Insta
Yes,
Cafe.
it's gonna be fun.
Where we'll have a chat with our campus pastors in Chennai, Praveen and Shana, and a mystery guest. We'll see you over on Instagram. Thanks so much for coming. Have an amazing week.
See ya.
Bye.